The man never noticed her at first. He was too busy pretending not to feel lonely, staring at his phone while his young son slept against his chest on the cold park bench. Then a soft, trembling voice broke the silence. "Can I sit here?" When he looked up, his heart froze. The little girl standing before him was smiling bravely, but her crutch told a story her eyes tried to hide. One leg. Torn shoes. A dignity far too heavy for a child her age. He hesitated, just for a second. And in that second, he had no idea that whatever he said next would either heal a broken soul, or shatter it forever. The park was quiet in the way only lonely places ever are. Not silent, but heavy. The kind of quiet that presses against your chest and reminds you of everything you've lost. Daniel sat on the far end of an old wooden bench, his jacket pulled tight around his sleeping 5-year-old son, Noah. Noah's small fingers were curled into Daniel's shirt as if even in sleep he was afraid of being left behind. Daniel understood that fear better than anyone. Ever since his wife died 2 years ago, the world had felt like a place that could take everything from you without warning. Daniel came to the park every evening after work. Not because he enjoyed it, but because Noah did. And because sitting at home with memories was harder than sitting on a bench with strangers who didn't ask questions. He stared at his phone, pretending to scroll, pretending to be busy, pretending not to feel invisible. That was when he heard her voice, "Sir?" He looked up, annoyed at first, ready to politely refuse whatever was coming. But the words died in his throat. A little girl stood in front of him. She couldn't have been more than 8 or 9. Her hair was tied into uneven pigtails, her jacket too thin for the cold. One pant leg hung empty, folded neatly and pinned. She leaned on a crutch that looked older than she was. Her smile was gentle, careful, like she had practiced it many times before. "Can I sit here?" she asked again, pointing to the empty space beside him. Daniel's eyes dropped to her crutch. To the worn-out shoes. To the tired look in her eyes that no child should ever have. His first instinct was fear, not of her, but of the pain behind her smile. Pain he wasn't sure he could handle. He hesitated. That hesitation felt like a lifetime to her. Her smile faltered just a little. Not enough for most people to notice, but Daniel noticed. Because he had seen that same look in the mirror after his wife's funeral. The look of someone preparing themselves for rejection. "Sorry," she whispered quickly. "I'll go." "No," Daniel said suddenly, his voice sharper than he meant it to be. "No, wait. You can sit." "Of course you can." She froze, as if she hadn't expected kindness. Slowly, carefully, she moved closer and lowered herself onto the bench beside him. She kept a respectful distance, folding her hands in her lap. "I'm Lily," she said softly after a moment. "I don't like sitting alone." Daniel nodded. "I'm Daniel. And this is my son, Noah." She smiled at the sleeping boy. "He looks safe." The word hit Daniel harder than he expected. They sat in silence for a while. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that lets you breathe. Finally, Lily spoke again. "Most people don't let me sit near them," she said casually, like she was talking about the weather. "They think I'm sad." Daniel swallowed. "Are you?" She thought for a moment. "Sometimes. But mostly I'm just tired." Daniel didn't know what to say to that. No adult ever really does. Before he could respond, Noah stirred, opening his eyes. He looked at Lily, then at her crutch. "Daddy," he whispered, not unkindly. "Why does she have only one leg?" Daniel stiffened. He opened his mouth to apologize, but Lily laughed softly. "Because the other one got tired of me and ran away," she said. Noah giggled. "That's silly." "So am I," Lily replied, smiling wider now. For the first time in a long time, Daniel laughed too, and he didn't realize it yet, but that bench, that moment, that simple question, "Can I sit here?" was about to change his life forever. Tears streamed down her face, but they weren't from pain. They were from something far worse, hope. Because the single dad's answer didn't just give her a place to sit, it reopened wounds he'd buried since his wife's funeral, and memories she had been running from her entire life. As their stories slowly collided, a secret emerged that neither of them was prepared to face. And by the time the truth was revealed, one simple question would change all three of their lives forever. What does it really mean to be a family? As the sky darkened, the park lights flickered on. Lily adjusted herself on the bench, wincing slightly as she did. Daniel noticed. Does it hurt? He asked gently. She nodded, then shrugged. It always does. But you get used to it. People say I'm brave. I don't feel brave. I just don't have another choice. Daniel felt something crack open inside him. Where's your family, Lily? He asked carefully. She stared straight ahead. My mom died when I was little. My dad left after the accident. I live with my aunt now. She works a lot. I come here because it's quieter than home. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. Different stories. Same emptiness. My wife died too, he said quietly. Cancer. Fast. Cruel. Noah was 3. Lily looked at him then. Really looked at him. Her eyes filled with tears, not from pain, but from understanding. I'm sorry, she whispered. Daniel nodded. Me too. A long pause passed. Then Lily asked the question that would break him. Do you ever feel like the world looks at you and only sees what you're missing? Daniel felt his throat tighten. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at her empty pant leg. At her brave smile. At the child who had learned loss far too early. Yes, he said finally. Every single day. Her tears spilled over then. She tried to wipe them away quickly, embarrassed. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to cry. Daniel did something he hadn't done for anyone outside his family since his wife died. He put his hand gently over hers. It's okay, he said softly. You don't have to be strong here. She broke down then, quiet sobs shaking her small body. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just years of loneliness pouring out. When she finally calmed, she looked up at him, her eyes red and shining. Thank you for letting me sit here, she said. Most people don't. Daniel took a deep breath. You can sit here any time, he said. With us. You don't have to ask. Her face froze. Really? She whispered. Really? Noah reached for her hand. You can sit with us tomorrow too. Lily smiled through her tears. I'd like that. From that day on, the bench was never empty again. Weeks passed. Then months. Lily became part of their evenings. Daniel helped with her homework. Noah called her his best friend. Slowly, without realizing it, they became a family shaped not by blood, but by understanding. One evening, as Lily hugged him goodbye, she looked up and asked, Do you think broken things can still be whole? Daniel smiled, his eyes wet. Yes, he said. Sometimes they're stronger that way. And for the first time since his wife's death, Daniel believed it. Sometimes, the smallest questions carry the greatest power. Can I sit here? Isn't just about space, it's about belonging. And when we choose kindness over comfort, we don't just change someone else's life, we heal our own.